My sister walked into my house 4 days after we buried Helen. She didn't knock. She had a key and she used it like she owned the place. My name is Leonard Hale. I'm 58 years old, retired contractor, and I was sitting at my kitchen table still wearing the same flannel shirt I'd had on since the funeral when the back door swung open and Carol walked in with a man I had never seen before. She said his name was Bryce. He had on a pressed shirt and carried himself the way men do when they think they're doing you a favor just by showing up. He didn't introduce himself to me directly. He just stepped inside and started looking around the room, not at the furniture, not at the photos on the shelf, at the walls, at the windows, at the space between the ceiling and the floor like he was calculating something. Carol hugged me. She smelled like she'd gotten dressed up for this visit. She said she was so sorry. She said she'd been thinking about me every single day. She said she just wanted to check in and make sure I wasn't alone. Then she sat down at my kitchen table without being asked and said, in the same voice she might use to talk about the weather, "You're alone now, Leonard. You really don't need all this space." I looked at Bryce. He was still looking at the ceiling. I didn't say anything back. I got up and poured myself a cup of coffee and stood at the counter and waited for them to leave. That was when I understood what the next few months were going to be. Helen passed on a Thursday in October, ovarian cancer stage 3 when they found it, stage 4 by the time it stopped responding. We had been married 30 years. We didn't have children of our own. That just wasn't how things worked out for us. And after a while, we stopped waiting for it to work out differently. What we had was each other, and for 30 years that was enough. 6 years ago, my best friend Miles Garner died of a heart attack at 49. No warning. Just here one day and gone the next. His boy Tyler was 11 years old and had nobody else, so Tyler came to live with us. He's 17 now. He was upstairs doing homework the afternoon Carol and Bryce walked in through my back door. I remember thinking as I stood at that counter drinking my coffee that Tyler had already lost his father, and now he had watched me bury Helen. And now he was sitting upstairs while my sister sat at our kitchen table and told me I didn't need this much space. Some things you feel in your chest before you understand them in your head. Helen had a will. She had updated it twice during her 14 months of treatment. Her attorney was a woman named Margaret Slade, sharp and careful, who had known Helen since before we got married. The will was straightforward. The house to me, the savings account to me, the small brokerage account Helen had opened in her own name years before we met. To me, nothing complicated. Just what we had built together, staying where it belonged. Carol knew about the will. She had brought it up once, about 8 months before Helen died, and had framed it as just being curious about how things were arranged. Helen told me about that conversation later. One evening when we were lying in the hospital bed, I had moved downstairs so she wouldn't have to manage the stairs anymore. Helen said Carol had asked whether she had thought about leaving something to family. Helen said she had smiled and changed the subject. Helen was very good at that. The week after Carol's visit, Margaret called me. She had received a letter from an attorney representing Carol. Carol was filing a claim against the estate. Her basis was a handwritten document, 2 pages, that she claimed Helen had signed, stating that Helen had verbally promised to leave Carol a share of the house proceeds and a portion of the brokerage account. The letter said Carol had provided emotional support and informal caregiving during Helen's illness, and that this document reflected Helen's true wishes, which the formal will had failed to capture. I asked Margaret to read me the exact wording of that document. She did, and I listened, and when she finished, I sat very still for a moment. Helen did not write that. I know how Helen wrote. I know the words she used and the words she didn't. I know how she structured a sentence when she was being precise about something important. And I knew something else. In the last 4 months of her life, Helen could barely hold a pen. The tremor had gotten bad enough that she had switched to texting me from the next room because writing by hand had become too difficult. She had told me that herself, quietly, on a night when she thought I was already asleep. I told Margaret to keep the process moving at a normal pace. Don't push, don't delay. Just let Carol's side think they had plenty of time. Then I hung up and went out to the garage. I have a workbench out there. Nothing fancy. Just a bench. A stool I've had since my 30s. And enough room to stand and think without the walls closing in. That's what I use it for more than anything else now. It's where I sat the night Helen told me the second round of treatment wasn't working. It's where I stood the morning I had to tell Tyler that Miles wasn't coming back. I stood at that bench for a long time after Margaret's call. I wasn't angry. Anger moves fast and loud, and I've never trusted it. What I felt was more like the thing you feel when you're looking at a structure that appears solid from the outside and you start seeing the signs that it isn't. Small things, a crack along a seam, a floor that gives just slightly more than it should. You don't panic. You start paying attention differently. That's what I did. I spent 35 years as a contractor, reading a blueprint, figuring out load distribution, finding the point where something will fail before it actually fails. That's not a skill you leave at the job site, you carry it with you. And I started applying it to everything I could remember about the past year. Carol had come by the house 6 times during Helen's treatment. I had thought at the time that she was being supportive. Now I was replaying those visits differently. The way she had walked through the rooms, the comments she had made about the kitchen renovation we had done 4 years ago, how much that must have cost. Wasn't the neighborhood really coming up? Small things I had not registered as anything at the time, now they registered. I also remembered that Carol had a spare key. I had given it to her 3 years ago when Helen and I went to visit Tyler's school for a week-long program and needed someone to water the plants. I had never asked for it back. The next morning, I pulled up the footage from the backdoor camera I had installed the previous spring after a break-in 2 streets over. I checked the dates going back to the week after the funeral. Carol had come by twice, both times when Tyler and I were out. Both times she had let herself in with the key and left 20 minutes later carrying boxes. Boxes I had not packed. Boxes I had not been asked about. I didn't call her. I saved the footage to a separate drive and I went back inside. The second thing I did was go through Helen's nightstand. Helen kept a small spiral notebook in the top drawer. She'd had it for years. It was where she tracked household expenses, appointments, things she didn't want to lose track of. I had looked through it once after she passed, not really reading it, just holding it because it was hers. Now I sat on the edge of our bed and read every page carefully. Page 34 stopped me. It was a record of loans, written in Helen's handwriting, neat and dated the way she always wrote things down. The first entry was 3 years ago, $5,000. Below it, Carol's signature and the date. Then another entry, $8,000, then $4,500 again. The last entry was 14 months ago, the same month Helen's oncologist had told us the cancer had spread further than they had hoped. I added the numbers. The $5,000 plus $8,000 plus $14, $500 plus $14, $500, $22,000. So total, every entry had a date. Every entry had Carol's signature at the bottom. Helen had been keeping a record of every dollar she had loaned her sister-in-law for 3 years. She had never said a word to me about any of it. I sat on that bed for a long time. I thought about Helen lying in the room downstairs in those last weeks. I thought about how she had still been asking about Tyler's schoolwork and reminding me to take my blood pressure medication and making sure the contractor we'd called about the gutters had actually shown up, keeping everything organized right up until the end. And all that time she had a notebook in her drawer with Carol's name in it and $22,000 in outstanding loans that Carol had never mentioned and apparently had no intention of paying back. I put the notebook down and I went to the closet. Helen's old phone was in a box on the top shelf with some of her other personal things. She had stopped using it 2 years ago when she upgraded. I hadn't touched the box since she passed because I hadn't been ready to. I took it down and plugged it into the charger on the nightstand and waited for it to power on. I wasn't looking for anything specific. I was just looking. The phone had a folder of voice memos she had recorded over the years, shopping lists mostly, reminders to herself. A few recordings of Tyler playing guitar when he was 13, which I didn't expect to find and which I had to put the phone down for a few minutes after hearing. Near the bottom of the list was a memo recorded 11 months before she died, 4 minutes and 12 seconds long. I pressed play. Helen's voice came through the small speaker, and I sat very still on the edge of the bed and listened to every word. She said she had been thinking about how to handle a few things and wanted to put her thoughts somewhere she wouldn't lose them. She said she wanted it noted clearly that she had no intention of leaving anything to Carol outside of what Margaret had already drafted and filed. She said she loved Carol, but that the loans had never been addressed. That Carol had made several comments in recent months about the house and the finances that had made Helen uncomfortable, and that she had spoken to Margaret about making sure the will was solid. Then she said, "Leonard, if you're hearing this, you already know what I meant. You always knew before I had to say it out loud. I sat there with the phone in my hands until the recording ended, and then I sat there a while longer. Then I called Margaret. I didn't explain everything over the phone. I just told her I had something she needed to hear and something she needed to read, and that I could be at her office the next afternoon. Margaret said to come at 2. I brought the notebook, I brought the phone, I sat across from her desk and watched her listen to the recording twice, all the way through without saying anything. Then she read the notebook, every page with entries, slowly. When she was done, she set it on the desk and folded her hands and looked at me. She said, "Leonard, I need to ask you something and I need you to be straight with me. Did you know about any of this before today?" I told her no. I told her about the notebook in the nightstand drawer, the phone in the box on the closet shelf, and the fact that Helen had never once mentioned the loans to me in 3 years. Margaret nodded. She said that was consistent with how Helen operated. She said Helen had come to her office about 9 months before she passed and had asked her to review the will one more time and make sure there were no gaps. Margaret had asked if there was a specific reason. Helen had said she just wanted to be thorough. Margaret picked up the notebook again and looked at Carol's signatures on each entry. She said she was going to hire a forensic document examiner for the handwritten letter Carol had filed. She said the audio recording and the notebook would both be preserved as evidence. She said I should not contact Carol directly, not now, not about any of this. I told her I had no intention of contacting Carol. I also told her about the camera footage. Margaret asked me to make sure it was backed up in at least 2 places and to send her a copy that week. She said the footage of Carol removing items from the house without permission was relevant to the broader picture of intent. I drove home that afternoon and backed up the footage to 2 external drives and emailed a copy to Margaret's office before dinner. The forensic examiner Margaret hired was a woman named Dr. Patricia Wells. She had been doing this work for over 20 years and had testified in court cases in 4 states. Margaret told me this, not to impress me, but because she knew I would want to know the credentials before I trusted the result. Dr. Wells needed 4 days. Her report came back on a Tuesday morning. Margaret called me as soon as she had read it, and I drove over to her office and read it myself sitting in the same chair I had sat in a week earlier. The handwritten letter Carol had submitted was not written by Helen. The signature on the document had been traced. Dr. Wells had identified the source as Helen's signature on a card from our 25th wedding anniversary, which Margaret had in Helen's file as a reference document. The tracing was not exact. There were pressure inconsistencies and line variations that indicated the signature had been reproduced by hand from a copied image rather than signed naturally. The paper the letter was printed on had been manufactured after a specific date. That date came after the period confirmed in Helen's medical records during which she had lost the fine motor control necessary to write more than a few words at a time. And then there was the metadata. During the discovery process, Bryce's personal laptop had been examined. On that laptop was a saved draft file. The document contained the text of the letter Carol had submitted. The metadata on that file showed it had been created 3 weeks after Helen's death. Carol's name appeared in the file's access history. She had opened it 6 times between its creation and the date it was submitted to the court. Bryce had written the letter. Carol had reviewed it at least 6 times before they filed it as evidence. I sat in Margaret's office and read that report from the first page to the last. Then I set it down on her desk. Margaret said she was going to file the forensic report with the court. She said the combination of the forged document, the metadata, and the audio recording created a case that Carol's attorney was going to have a very difficult time responding to. Then she said she wanted to do one more thing. She wanted to send Carol's attorney a letter suggesting an informal meeting to discuss a possible out-of-court resolution, a courtesy offer, she called it. She said sometimes people in Carol's position, when they understand the full picture of what the other side has, make decisions that are better for everyone. I asked her what she thought Carol would do. Margaret looked at me over the top of her reading glasses and said, "I think she'll come, and I think she'll talk more than she should." The meeting was scheduled for a Thursday morning at a neutral location, a conference room in a building downtown that Margaret sometimes used for mediations. Both parties had been informed that the session would be recorded, which was legal under our state's consent laws. Carol and Bryce both signed the acknowledgement form when they arrived. I was not in that room. Margaret had advised me not to be, and she was right. My presence would have changed the dynamic. Carol needed to feel like she was in a conversation, not a confrontation. What happened over the next 47 minutes, I know from Margaret's notes and from the recording itself, which I listened to once and did not need to hear again. Carol said that Bryce had helped her remember what Helen had told her. She said she believed the letter was close enough to what Helen had intended. She said Helen had always meant to take care of her and that the formal just hadn't captured that properly. She said she hadn't thought anyone would look this carefully at a simple document. Each of those statements contradicted something she had said in her original sworn filing. Margaret let her finish. Then she thanked her for coming and said they would be in touch. The case did not go to trial. 2 weeks after that meeting, Carol's attorney filed a withdrawal of the estate contest. The forensic report had been submitted to the court. The audio recording had been entered into evidence. The recorded contradictions from the Thursday meeting had been documented and were ready to be used. Carol withdrew everything. The court ordered her to repay the $22,000 documented in Helen's notebook, with interest calculated from the date of the last loan entry. Bryce's conduct was referred to the State Real Estate Licensing Board for review. Margaret told me later that the review did not conclude in his favor and that his license had been suspended pending further action. I didn't go to any of the proceedings after the first hearing. There was a baseball game on the afternoon. The withdrawal was filed. Tyler was playing, and I had told him weeks earlier that I would be there. I sat in the bleachers in the November cold with a cup of bad coffee and watched him strike out his first 2 at-bats and then hit a clean single up the middle in the 4th inning. Helen had come to every one of his games for 5 years. Rain, cold, the weeks when she was tired from treatment and should have stayed home. She came anyway. She kept a small notebook in her bag where she wrote down things Tyler did well so she could tell him specifically after the game. Not just good job, but you kept your elbow up on that second pitch, or you called off the left fielder clean. I thought about that notebook while I watched him round first base and stop at the bag. She would have liked that hit. Margaret helped me restructure the brokerage account into a small trust before the end of the year. Half of it is set aside for Tyler's education, held until he turns 25. The other half stays accessible to me. It is not a large amount of money by any standard, but it was Helen's. She had opened that account before we met, contributed to it steadily for 30 years, and never touched the principal. She had been building something. I intend to make sure it goes where she intended. Tyler turns 18 in the spring. He has been looking at civil engineering programs at 2 state schools. He wants to build infrastructure, bridges, and drainage systems, and the kind of work that holds a community together underground where nobody sees it. I told him that sounded right for him. He asked me why. I said because the best work is usually the kind that nobody notices until it's gone. He thought about that for a second and then said that was actually a pretty good point. Carol and I have not spoken since the withdrawal was filed. I don't expect that will change. There is a version of this where I feel something unresolved about that, some door I should have tried harder to leave open. But when I'm honest with myself, I think the door closed from her side a long time before any of this started, maybe before Helen got sick. Maybe earlier than that. Some things you can't see clearly until enough time has passed. The house is the same as it was. I haven't changed much. Helen's reading chair is still by the window in the front room. Her plants are still on the sill, and I water them on the same schedule she kept, written on a small card she taped to the inside of the cabinet door above the sink. I found that card 2 months after she passed, and I have not moved it. A few weeks ago, Tyler and I were in the kitchen after dinner. He was washing dishes and I was at the table going through some paperwork Margaret had sent over. The house was quiet the way it gets in the evening now, not empty exactly, just still. Tyler had his back to me when he said it. He didn't make a thing of it. He just said it out loud, casual, like he was commenting on something he had already thought through and made his decision about. He said, "Would it be weird if I called you Dad? I didn't answer right away." I got up from the table and walked over and put my hand on his shoulder for a second. Then I went to get my jacket from the hook by the back door. I said, "I'm going to check the porch. You want coffee when I come back in?" He turned around and he was smiling. He said, "Yeah, he did." I stood out on the back porch for a few minutes in the cold. The oak tree at the edge of the yard was bare. The neighborhood was quiet. I could see the light on in the kitchen through the window, and Tyler moving around in there putting dishes away. That was enough. That was more than enough. If any part of this story felt familiar to you, it probably should. A lot of men in their 50s and 60s have been in a version of this situation. You lose someone. You're still standing there trying to figure out how to breathe, and that's when someone moves in on what you built. Maybe it's a relative. Maybe it's someone you trusted. You find out that the people closest to you aren't always the people you thought they were. Here's what Leonard figured out and what I want you to take with you. Document everything. The loans, the promises, the conversations that feel off. Write it down. Date it. Keep it somewhere safe. Helen kept a notebook, and that notebook was the difference between losing everything and keeping it. You don't have to be suspicious of everyone. You just have to be a man who pays attention and keeps records. If you have assets, a house, savings, anything you've spent a lifetime building, talk to an attorney now, not when something goes wrong now. The best protection is the kind you put in place before you need it. That's true in construction, and it's true in life.